Hello, today I'm going to talk about the perpetual contract on Bitmex. This is the main contract people trade on the site, with on busy days multiple billions of dollars being traded every 24 hours. In fact, in the last 24 hours, 700 million US dollars worth has actually been traded. In this video, I'll explain in detail how to make trades using basic orders, and I'll talk about leverage, how you can buy $10,000 worth of Bitcoin even if you only deposit $100 worth. Although I would not recommend using leverage quite that high. Then I'll go into an overview of some of the more complicated aspects of how the perpetual contract works, like the inverse nature of the contract and how that can drastically affect your profit and loss. Also, I'll give an overview of the funding mechanics that keep the price close to the real value of Bitcoin. Now, these are important to be aware of because they can make and lose you quite a bit of money, but they are too complex to go into too much detail in this video. If there is demand, I'll do follow-up parts in the future. To save you watching to the end of the video, I'll give you my overall impression of the site now. And that is, it's a pretty good site. It has lots of volume and it has pretty low spread. Now, spread is the difference between these two values, the bid and the ask. A low spread will ultimately save you money in the long term. Also, the fee costs on Bitmex are very competitive. Ultimately, I am willing to recommend someone to use this site. With that in mind, I do have an affiliate link that will reduce your fees even lower. You can find that in the description below this video. And while I will make money if you use these links, I can sincerely say that you should use an affiliate link. Even if it's not mine, use someone's. It will greatly reduce your fees on Bitmex and on other sites, which I have affiliate links also in this description below. Okay, let's jump in and learn how to use this contract. The first thing is, it is very scary. There's a lot of information on this screen, and while hopefully after this video you will be able to make some small basic trades, I must recommend that you do not make any large trades until you understand every single number and icon on this screen. Now that is a bit of work, but it is something that you really need to do. To help you see in this video, let me go ahead and increase the actual size we look at. If I were to increase it any further, it will start to look like what you would see on a mobile phone. So that might be of interest to some of you. This is how it will look if you use the mobile phone. But let's just keep it at this size here. Now, let me quickly show you how to make an order. There are many types of orders. You can see some of them here. But we will just look at the two main ones, limit and market. And let's do a market trade first, because it is by far the simplest one. All you have to do is type in the value of the amount of Bitcoin you would like to buy or sell. This is in US dollars. So if I would like to buy $10 worth of Bitcoin, I simply put it in here and click the buy button. If I'd like to sell, or another way to think of that is to bet the price will go up or bet the price will go down. So let's go ahead and make a market buy of 10. What will happen here is the system will look at all these offers here. And if because I'm buying, it will look at the earliest one on the right hand side and it will make that trade. So let's go ahead and do that. It'll give you a warning. It'll tell you what your leverage is going to be. It'll tell you what the price would have to change to liquidate you. Lots of important things. Like I said, ultimately you will need to understand all of this to go forward. And there we go, the trade went through. If you'd like to sell, it's just as easy. You simply click the sell button. And that is all there is to a market order. So let's have a look at something a bit more complicated, the limit order. A limit order is how you get your price onto one of these lists. So for example here, somebody is willing to buy Bitcoin at $9,092 and somebody is willing to sell at $9,092.50. What if I am willing to buy at $9,000? Maybe I'm willing to buy $1,000 worth of Bitcoin at this price. By clicking the buy button here, I am going to put my name on this list here. It will be all the way down. This is Stez going down and down off this screen. It will put it all the way down at the 9,000. And it will look very similar to before. It'll give us a warning of what will happen after we buy, where I'd get liquidated, how would it affect the rest of my account. But it will go ahead and now and put me on that list. I am on that list. If the price falls to 9,000, I will have bought. Very similar to sell. If to go on the list, I need to be bigger than this amount. So let's say at 10,000, I can also put my name on that list to sell $1,000 worth of Bitcoin. As simple as that. Let's go ahead and cancel these because I don't actually want either of those trades. If I go down to active orders here, and I can simply scroll across, it's a little easier to do if we weren't zoomed in quite so big, and I'll go ahead and cancel either of these, or I can actually cancel both of them at the same time. So nothing too complicated about the limit or market orders, but one thing to say about the fees. When I used the market order, it instantly went through. When I used the limit order, it didn't instantly go through. And that will make a difference to the fees. Because that means you are, let me zoom back out so we can read this a little better. That will make you a taker or a maker. A taker is someone that a trade instantly happens. That means I would have paid a fee for that instant trade I made. For that maker trade, it didn't instantly happen, but if it had have happened, I would have in fact got minus a fee, which means somebody would have paid me money. So you can in fact get paid to buy or sell Bitcoin if you are just patient and let it happen. Now let's talk a little about leverage. Have a look what's actually in my account. If we go down here, my wallet balance is 0.86 Bitcoin. That's about $8,000 worth in this account. Now you can see my open positions. It's on a different contract, but my open position actually has $22.5 thousand worth of a trade. That means I am trading more money than I actually have. In fact, Bitmex will even let me trade 100 times more money than I actually have. So if I have $8,000, it will let me trade as much as $800,000. So how is this possible? Bitmex keeps an eye on every bet you make. Let's see where my open position is. So that $10 I just opened, and I have a previous position here that's been open a while. It keeps an eye on this position and on how well you are doing. You can see here that I am actually losing money on this one at the moment. Bitmex keeps a very close eye on when you are losing money, because it takes that money and takes it away from your total amount. You can see it here, in fact, unrealized profit and loss. It takes it away from that and it keeps an eye on your margin balance. Now, if this amount gets anywhere close to zero, Bitmex will, in fact, close your position. So it will take this large position I have, this 22,000, and put it down to zero. That is to stop me losing more money than I actually have. That is how they allow you to trade more money than you actually have. Now, liquidation is a pretty bad thing to happen to your account. When it happens, when they close your position and make it to zero to stop you losing more money than you have, any money left over, they will give back to you, but there will be a pretty large fee taken from that. So very often there will be no money left. So it's not something you should let happen to your account. You need to keep an eye on what your positions are doing, and if they ever come anywhere close to liquidation, you should reduce the size of them or even close them completely. Okay, let's assume you're dealing with your leverage. Now let's have a look at the position we've opened. So we've opened just a $10 position in this perpetual contract. Something very important happens to this $10 every 8 hours, and that's something we really need to understand a bit more about. And that's the funding that happens in Bitmex. You can see it down here. It'll say funding rate and funding cost. Now, at the moment, it says funding rate 0.01%, and it tells us that this is the rate that longs have to pay shorts. A long is someone betting the price will go up, and a short is someone betting the price will go down. Now, I am long. That means I'll have to pay the shorts some money. That's why this number is a slight bit red. Now, the predicted cost I'll have to pay is zero, because $10 is a very small amount. So 0.01% of $10 is even smaller. But it is not zero, so that means in 3 hours from now, so if we don't hover over, it's in 3 hours from now, they will in fact take some amount of money, only 0.01% of $10, out of my account. So that is a cost that will happen in 3 hours. And in fact, 11 hours from now, the same thing will happen. Now this number is changing the 11 hours from now. 3 hours is locked in. Every 8 hours it locks in. The next one though is variable. Obviously with just a $10 position, I could go ahead and ignore this probably. But if this position got bigger, and using leverage we discussed, it could easily be much bigger. Let's say that was a $100,000 position. That means every 4 hours I would have to pay $10. Now that $10 will start to add up, because remember, even though your position was 100,000, perhaps you only had 1,000 in your account to open that position. So $10 coming off your account every 8 hours. Now you only have 990, then 980. Very quickly, you will not have enough money to keep your position open. So funding is something you really have to understand and be careful of. But it doesn't only work this way. This number can in fact be negative. It says there, if negative, shorts will pay longs. And that can happen. It happens quite regularly. We can see here in the history of the funding that the rate has been 0.01% for the last multiple 8-hour periods. But if we go back, here's a minus, here's another minus. There are plenty of minuses in this. I will also say this is an extremely stable period for the price of Bitcoin. So this is not indicative of what might always happen. So you can get paid or you will pay money to have a position on Bitmex. Now, why is this? Why is this funding mechanism in place? It is done to encourage people to buy or sell, to move this price. And they want to move this price because this is not the price of Bitcoin. This is just trying to copy the price of Bitcoin. The real price of Bitcoin can be seen in the index here. This price is got by, let's zoom out so we can see this page a little clearer. This is got by getting the price of multiple different websites. So I'm looking at this line here. Let me highlight that a bit more. This is Bitstamp, Bittrex, Coinbase, Gemini, and Kraken. Each is weighted differently. Obviously, Bitmex does not consider Bittrex price to be that good because it's only weighted at 2%. Coinbase is the main weighting at 46%. But if you take all these prices together, it gives a very good estimation of what the current real price of Bitcoin is. And that's shown here at $9,098. Whereas Bitmex is actually at $9,101. That's $3 away. So that is not considered significant. I'd say anything under than $10 or $15 is not significant. But if this price does start to move too far away from here, this funding price will start to change and therefore will encourage people to buy or sell the index so they can get paid every 8 hours. Like I said before, this will make or lose you money, so do not ignore this price. You need to know what this is right now. You need to have an understanding what it might be for the next 2 or 3 days. You need to understand this mechanism a lot more if you are going to do large sums of money on Bitmex, or more importantly, if you're going to use high leverage on Bitmex. Okay, the last thing I'd like to talk about, and it might be the most important thing, and that is what you are buying. It is set up to look like you are buying Bitcoin and mostly works like you are buying Bitcoin, but you're not. They do this by using an inverse contract. For this video, I will just say that if the price of Bitcoin goes up and you have bet the price of Bitcoin will go up, you'll make money, but you'll make more money than you think. If the price of Bitcoin goes up and you bet against that, you will lose money, but you will lose less than you think. And the opposite is then true if the price falls. So if the price of Bitcoin falls and you've bet it will fall, you will make money, but you'll make less than you think. This is because the baseline currency, the currency that you use to open the position, I've zoomed back out, let me zoom in. The currency you've used to open this position is actually Bitcoin itself. So as the price goes up or down, it affects the money you have sitting on the sideline. And that can drastically affect your profit and loss, especially if the price of Bitcoin moves a significant amount. Let's say if it moves 1 or 2%, this effect will be barely noticeable to you. You might make or lose an extra dollar or two and not realize why. It's because of that. But if the price moves 5%, that might move up to $5 or $6. If it moves 10%, that might move up to $20. If it moves up if the price changes 50%, that will drastically affect how much money you make or lose. You will make a lot more than you think or lose a lot more than you think. That means it's quite dangerous. And that is one of the reasons I would only really recommend Bitmex for short-term trades, for trades in small, narrow ranges. That is, unless you fully understand how this inverse mechanism works, and because there are ways to make more money than you might think and less money than you might think. So you want to be on the good side of that. You want to exploit that difference. Okay, that should give you a starting understanding of what the Bitmex Perpetual contract does and how to trade on it. If you have more questions, I'd be happy to answer them in the comments below. And like I said, if there's enough interest, I will do a couple of more parts to go into more details about it. Until then, have a good day and I'll see you next time. Bye.